My immediate goal in marriage was to make up for all those sexually frustrated years, the sooner the better. A friend of mine, that married 2 years before I did, had bragged that he was able to know his bride 5 times on their wedding night. He was a puny fellow, so I had no doubt I would beat his brag, but the truth is, 3 times is all I could muster, and just barely. I quickly realized a single man's concept of marriage was a bit different than the real thing. After all, it was midnight before we got to our room, and we were up at 6 headed to the Gulf Coast, where we would honeymoon for a few days in a cottage on the beach. It was a long day's drive. We arrived at the cottage well after dark. We had brought all the gear for fishing and crabbing, as well as the groceries for her to prepare our meals. That way we could save a lot of money and be able to stay longer in the cabin. We dug all of the gear out of the station wagon and placed it in the cabin. Deb fixed us a big supper, after which I tried to break my record. One time and I was asleep. I woke in the middle of the night and remembered that crabs sometimes run along the beach, so I woke Deb and excitedly said, "Let's go crabbing." My new missus complained about me not giving her enough time to find her tennis shoes. They were still packed somewhere, and I was raring to go. Anyway, I had seen her going barefoot many times. As we scurried along the beach, she complained about not having a flashlight. I was using it up ahead to scout the way and chase crabs. I heard her say something about shells hurting her feet. For the next hour or two I ran along the seashore, and she dragged along behind carrying my crab sack. I put out some of those little round traps with bait in them, and we eventually got about 6 or 8 of the little pinching critters, not enough for a meal. That was my first time to ever go crabbing, and I was having a ball. What more could a fellow ask for? The cottage on the beach, a hot wife, plenty of crabs, this was living. We made it back to the cottage, where we grabbed a couple of hours of sleep before I woke up hungry and had to make love to a woman half asleep. She was willing, but not very active. Afterwards she got up and fixed us a fine breakfast. Great cook. Her mother taught her well. She wanted to go back to sleep, but I talked her into going out for more crabs. By mid-afternoon we had a sack full of crabs and headed back to the cottage. Wow, was I tired. I told her I would just take a little nap while she prepared supper. I don't know how long I slept, but I awoke to her screeching and jumping about with crabs crawling all over the cabin. The silly girl had left the sack open when she was trying to get the first crab in the huge boiling kettle. I sat up in bed and offered some constructive advice, and she had a personality change right there in front of me, and us not yet married 48 hours. Who could have imagined a female could carry on in such a crazy manner? I tried to calm her down, but she just stomped off, leaving the French fries turning black in the hot smoking oil and the crabs crawling. I yelled at a retreating form, "I don't need to hunt crabs. I married one." Somehow that one remark has hung around our marriage like a ticked-off ghost. It seemed appropriate at the time. To her credit, she did come back and finish cooking. After we ate I was ready for some more sex. But she just wanted to sleep. I had read in a marriage book how women always have excuses, like being sleepy, having a headache, etc. There was a great sense of satisfaction when I was so completely able to change her mind. It wasn't that difficult. She's wired right. It made me sleepy, so I dozed off again. I was just dropping off when I heard the crack. It came from the bathroom. She looked dead lying there all twisted up in a weird position, half in half out of the shower. The curtain and the rod lay flung out on the floor around her, and water was spraying everywhere. It was one scary moment. My new bride dead on our honeymoon. I quickly turned off the water and bent to cradle her in my arms. I gently shook her while examining her injured forehead, which was quickly swelling and turning blue. "What's wrong, honey? Are you sick?" After she opened her eyes it took her a minute to focus, and then her expression changed. It was a mixture of pity and anger, although her voice was like a deep sigh as she whispered,
"You really don't know, do you?"
Man, it sounded like she was accusing me or something. Since she was hurt I let her have her say, and boy, she laid it on. She sat up, pulling herself away from me, turning where she could look me square in the face. The gist of what she said was something along these lines.
"In the last 48 hours I haven't slept more than 2 hours undisturbed. My feet have 20 or more tiny holes in them because you wouldn't let me take an extra 5 minutes to unpack my tennis shoes. My shoulder is sore from trying to carry 30 pounds of crabs for hours.
They didn't weigh that much.
My hand is burned from trying to stuff a fighting crab into a kettle of boiling water, which seems very much like torturing the poor thing, and, all the while you lay in a state of repose. Due to lack of sleep and sun, my eyes feel like they are full of sand. I have had little to eat. I am female, for crying out loud. I just want to sleep without you pawing on me. Besides, I have body parts one didn't even know existed until now and they are killing me, so what is wrong with me? I'm the weaker vessel, remember? It's in the Bible, chapter 1, verse 1, or somewhere.
Strange creatures, these females. My brother never acted like that when we traveled together holding evangelistic services. Well, she will get adjusted, I thought.
Adam must have been excited when he woke from his divinely induced sleep, with a missing rib, and first laid eyes on God's birthday gift to him. My husband, who is a learned student of the Word, assures me that Eve was indeed a birthday present, as seen by the fact that they were both wearing their birthday suits. If God created a special woman, perfectly suited to be your husband's helper, would you be that woman? Just imagine your dull husband waking up one morning, opening one lazy eye, and there sitting on his bed is a large, beautifully wrapped box. Mr. Dull is shocked, surprised, and quite curious, so he stretches out his arm and pulls gently on the vibrant red ribbon. Voila! That is your cue, so you push back the lid, and out you pop with an inviting smile and a welcoming body. His gift bride straight from the hand of God. My, oh my! How undull Mr. Dull would be. That's exactly what happened to Adam, everything but the box, that is. I am sure Adam was anything but dull when he awoke from deep sleep to find beautiful, naked Eve sitting there looking him over. Does your husband share Adam's feelings of delight when he looks upon you? Do you wake each morning ready to make your husband happy and blessed, to serve him to the best of your ability, to be his helper? Are you engaged in active goodwill toward your man? That is God's perfect will for you. When you are a helpmeet to your husband, you are a helper to Christ, for God commissioned man for a purpose and gave him a woman to assist in fulfilling that divine calling. When you honor your husband, you honor God. When you obey your husband, you obey God. The degree to which you reverence your husband is the degree to which you reverence your Creator. As we serve our husbands, we serve God. But in the same way, when you dishonor your husband, you dishonor God. It is now time for my reader to pull out one of those twisted exceptions to make God's will appear untenable. How can I be my husband's helper when he cheats on his taxes? How can I honor my husband when he wants me to view pornography with him? We will come to exceptions eventually, but don't miss the point by hurriedly jumping to the twisted and perverse. Women who do not want to do the will of God in regard to their husbands remind me of atheists always ready with a few reasons not to believe, but never considering the many reasons to believe. It is your nature to be your husband's helper. Don't fight it.